Sorry,
Hey,
I'm trying to figure out the buttons. It was
no
asking me all kinds
worries.
of questions.
Are you using your iPhone?
I am.
I've noticed it because you're the third person that the screen is like really narrow. Not that it's big, it doesn't matter. I mean, I'm eventually going to put these on YouTube, but
Okay.
since I'm the host, the producer, the booker, I do everything. It's hard enough getting this just the audio, and so,
I know.
anyways, good morning, welcome.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Yes, I'm speaking with Brittany Barnhart, everyone. She's a hunt. You know what? Here's a good thing I saw today, which I'll start off with. There's a girl that's coming on next week, Amy Hall, and she's a hunter too. And she posted, I guess also does a podcast, and she posted a question: hunter or huntress? Which, what do you consider? I mean, I never saw huntress. I mean, it kind of puts the feminine side to it, but as far as you being a hunter, there's no you're a hunter. I don't see you just because you're a woman makes you like we gotta say you're a huntress.
Right.
So
No,
what do you think
I
about that?
agree with that. When I think of huntress, I think of like the staged type scenario where a girl doesn't really hunt. She's just in camouflage, maybe being like a model or like doing some like promo for a company. That's kind of like the imagery I get in my brain.
Go Xena Warrior Princess for some reason. That
I
whole
know.
you're right too because it's almost like dramatic, and the
It's
woman can't really be get dirty. She's got to be a huntress, so you almost got to treat her with kid gloves. I guess I don't know, but yeah, I never thought about that until she posted that question. So, how did you get into hunting?
hold on, I'm something's my phone's freaking out. Okay, there we go. I so basically my mom was into hunting and like I kind of as a younger when I was younger, I went with her a few times, so I never really like was shooting myself or anything like that. I just was kind of tagging along and sitting in the ground blind. In Florida, it's very different and deer aren't as big or I guess as desirable. I kind of was just observing a lot. Um, and then when I was 17, my great uncle invited me to go on his farm, which I hunt a lot now. And if you've seen any of my YouTube videos, he's in a lot of them. Um, he was like, "Oh, come up and deer hunt." And I did. I wasn't successful when I was 17, but I think it kind of, the desire for me to try it grew. And when I had the opportunity to go to college in the Midwest, I took it right away, knowing that I would be able to hunt a lot more.
Yeah, the deer because I'm in Texas, and the deer here are like because I grew up in New York, so the deer up there are much bigger, and you get down here and like I've got my Rottweiler puppy right next to me, and she's 10 months old, and she's probably 80 pounds, and that's you'll see a deer, and you'll see pictures and these big racks, and yeah, they're on a deer that weighs 90 pounds. They're tiny down here. They're everywhere. Where in Florida do you grow up?
Um, Close to St. Augustine, like 30 minutes outside of that. Just in like a suburb.
Yeah,
Close,
so
I mean, between Jacksonville and St. Augustine.
okay, so I mean, the only thing I ever pictured for hunting is hogs and turkeys, and I know you like the turkey hunt, which is what we'll talk about too.
Yeah, there are deer there, but there's like a thing called hunting clubs. I don't know if they have that in Texas, but it's very popular in like Florida and Georgia and South Carolina. And we were in a hunting. My mom was in the hunting club in South Carolina and Georgia, and so we went and drove up there for the weekend a lot during hunting seasons to hunt there. Which the deer are a little bit bigger, but I mean, the only time I really went was in Florida was on public land, like the Osceola National Forest. But it was just really hard to compete with public land hunters just because there wasn't like a ton of public land and it kind of just got way overcrowded and you're just on top of everyone, which can be good, but I wouldn't say that it was one of my more fun experiences.
Yeah, I'll talk. Because I saw you with your uncle on that elk hunt for muzzleloader, so you've experienced the out west hunting
Yes.
pressure, and you bow hunt a lot too, right? Do you bow
I
hunt quite a bit?
primarily just because I enjoy it more, to be completely honest.
Do you have you gone out west to bow hunt yet?
I haven't. I drew a general tag in Wyoming 3 years ago now, and that was my first time really having the Western public yourself, because I killed a mule deer like 5 or 6 years ago, but it was on private land and it was a personal friend and they manage. I enjoyed that a lot, but I didn't necessarily count it as what a Western hunt would be like, do it yourself. So I wasn't successful on my elk hunt, but I really did get to experience that public land, try to make it to the rim before dark, competing with people who were on horses.
Yep.
Was
ATVs.
yeah, it was so tough. I was like, why did we not rent horses if everyone else is having horses? And my uncles are so old. Even 3 years ago, they were pretty old. I was like, you guys need a horse to get an elk out.
I thought about that and I looked into it. It's pretty expensive to run a horse because you have to pay for all the tack and the feed. Because apparently horses need to be taken special care out back. But I'm actually having a guy, you know who Randy Newberg is, right? The hunter Randy Newberg.
Who are you said?
Randy Newberg. Have you heard of
Oh,
him?
I do.
Because he's big on llamas, and the guy he gets llamas from is coming on next week. So I'm going to talk to him because that's starting to be a big thing out west. Is guys using llamas because they're easier to manage. You just kind of take them, and they can carry a lot of weight, and you still have to walk. I mean, I guess you could bring horses, but yeah, I looked at that doing the horse thing, and I don't know yet, but I'm eventually going to make my way permanently out west, and I'll figure those things out. Um, so you started at a young age. See, for me growing up, I had 5 sisters, all older. None of my friends' sisters hunted. None of my friends' mothers hunted. The only thing that came close is like you'd get your significant other to take the hunter safety course so they could get a tag, then the guy would take the tag. That's about as close as I ever knew women growing up, like when I was growing up hunting. And then seeing on Instagram all girls like yourself that are into hunting, which also too, I want to get more of you on the podcast because it seems, most are guys, the same guys doing the same podcast, telling the same stories. And you women are becoming a big part of the hunting industry. And you all have stories, and just like we talked about at the beginning, hunter versus huntress, you're hunters and you share the same stories, you share the same successes and failures. So when you moved out to Missouri, was whitetails is that your passion right now, or is it turkeys, whitetails?
It is. I love the entire breakdown of whitetails, like from the hunting to the harvesting to the self-processing to then cooking all of that for myself and learning recipes that I like and stuff. I just really enjoy eating the meat too, so it just feels super rewarding. I like turkey breast too. It's pretty good, but the amount of meat that you get from a whitetail is pretty significant. So, and then I don't know, I've just grown to like really love them and like distinguishing which one like is, old enough for me to shoot and, just all the factors with it it's like I'm always learning something every year too. So that's really interesting to me. I find myself getting bored of stuff that I like master. If I master a craft, I'm bored of it. So I really enjoy it just because every year it's like, what are my deer going to do this year?
I like that too. I saw so many pictures where you're not only involved in the hunt, but after the hunt, the cleanup and everything. And that's another thing cool that, you're not afraid to get dirty. I saw you cleaning, or just down cleaning the tail feathers of a turkey. And some girl, do you get a lot of do you have girls when they find out they meet you and then they find out you hunt? Do they, oh my God, you hunt? You like killing? Do you get that sometimes?
I have in the past. Some of my friends were like, thought it was gross or wrong because they feel as if deer have feelings, and I've witnessed deer having some feelings, but I think it's more maybe instinct. But that's just my personal opinion. Everyone's entitled to their opinion, and I've had other girls who think it's really cool, and they're like, "Oh, can you take me?" And I'm like, it's hard for me to teach people because everything I learned a lot of bad habits from my uncles because they could hunt back whenever there wasn't as many rules, or there wasn't so many factors, and there wasn't as many hunters either. So I've had to self-teach myself a lot of stuff, and then self-filming a lot of my stuff too, because getting someone to come and film who knows how to hunt as well and be quiet and still and scent free and all that, it kind of burdens me whenever I think that someone wants to go with me. I'm like, you got to be scent free. I got to provide you clothes. Like, I gotta make sure you're up at a certain time. Like, I'm like, oh gosh, I don't know if I can do all that.
Yeah, I
So
understand that
it's cool
whole.
when girls are accepting, because I'm like, no, it really is. It is fun, and there are people out there who are better at guiding than me and can bring you right to a great experience that you may be hooked on. You know.
And that's the secret of the experience. I mean, it's not, it's great if you get something, but sometimes you just see the coolest things and you're just out there and you never, if you're not out there, you're never going to know that stuff exists. I mean, one time I was turkey hunting and I had a squirrel jump on me. I was in camouflage and jumped and ran across my back, and that stuff like that, you can't, I mean, that was years ago, and I still remember. I could feel the squirrel still when I was telling you that story. Stuff
That's
like that. You can't just that experience of being out there. How about when you post something online? Do you take the care to? Because I know a lot of guys like the born and raised guys they said they make it a point to clean up the animal and make sure, because they know how anti-hunters and they'll get attacked for it. So when you post something, do you get like, have you had people backlash, oh, I can't believe you killed that, or do you get people negative comments and stuff?
I have before, and I know a lot of people are like, "Oh, just ignore them." Um, I think ignoring people doesn't change anything, and we're trying to make a change here. We're trying to, expressing your opinion sometimes and then laying out some of the facts for people that they may have never heard before is, I've had several people message me and they want to have a conversation. It's not like they're basically screw you, screw you. They want to talk about it. And I've given people the time of day and spent hours on my phone spending the time to explain to them all of the factors that go into it. It's not just let me go out and blast whatever, and it's not cruelty whatsoever. There is cruelty out there, I believe that, and that is all that they see. They don't see the beauty because that's not publicized. What's publicized is all the cruelty and the mean interactions with animals, which I hate to say that because I truly do. I've grown to love animals more and more the more times I spend in the woods, but it's not in a way that I would never disrespect. I never intentionally disrespect an animal. When I harvest it, I am so thankful and so appreciative. Especially for the meat part and
Right.
all the, I'm going to utilize all of that, or it's going to feed. I sent it to my grandma's, so she's going to eat that. And so just those factors. And I don't think that people who are essentially on the PETA side or really against hunting get to discuss it with us, because everybody's like, just ignore them. And I don't think that works. So I don't do that.
No, and it's good too, because you see these people, they talk about the tribalism and stuff, and some people just go along with it and find out it's bad to kill animals, but they're just hearing it from one side. And then you give a perspective, hey, I'm not just killing this for killing. You can go into your grocery store and walk, and you have absolutely no problem picking out a steak or a chicken because you don't know the process it got. You just see it wrapped up in a package. But we as hunters will shoot an animal, and it's not like we throw apart, hey, fireworks and everything. We take time and reflect, and then, like you said, it's the meat. if you want to talk about pure grass-fed organic food, there's nothing more true, no preservatives, no hormones.
Right.
It's wild game meat. So yeah, I've had girls when I told them I hunt, and I mean it's almost like a vitriol that comes out. It's like, whoa, especially like one time with pigs, and I'm like, do you understand? These things are like cockroaches. They're everywhere down here. And she was taking offense that I hunted pigs, and I'm just like, okay, they aren't the cute little things you see in Charlotte's Web. I'm sorry, I hate to break that to you. So, yeah.
I are deceived, and maybe giving them a different perspective can make a change, even if it doesn't work right away. I don't know if you've heard the planting seed method. I believe in that. So if I can plant a small seed, it could grow.
Yeah, exactly. I've done it before with people. I'm planting a seed, and then I'll usually put a little flower, like a little sprout next to the thing, planting a seed. So just keep it in your head, and to let it grow. And so when let's go to turkey hunting. Now, how long have you been turkey hunting?
So I've turkey hunted longer than whitetail hunting because it's a lot more intimate to start, even with a shotgun. Because when I first started whitetail hunting, it was just with a rifle. It's just not intimate at all, not like bow hunting. And so I kind of saved that for me and my uncle now, just because he's getting older and it's so hard for him to do a lot of things, but he can still turkey hunt. I don't know. I really do enjoy turkey hunting. It can be fast paced or it can be slow, and turkeys can surprise you. You hear nothing and then them. It's so crazy all the time.
Yeah,
Every time I turkey hunt, it's always.
And you're in a good state for turkeys too. Excuse me.
Birds are so hard to hunt. I've hunted like Kansas birds, Oklahoma birds, and I'm telling you, it was like, I don't know, easy textbook. Went out, called them in, they strutted right in. Here, I have to fight them all the way until they're super, super hot. I've only ever had a bird run to me on one occasion in Missouri, and it was like literally the last day of season, last 5 minutes, and he just wouldn't come close enough.
Yeah, I think Easterns are probably the hardest that I've found to hunt. Grow up in New York, especially New York has a weird, like, you can only hunt till noon, and if they get hens, yeah, and if they get hens, you gotta go, you're done, because they don't finish until mid-morning, early afternoon. It's like, yeah. But here in Texas, you can hunt all day, and they're not reels are. I've never had. No, I had single time, but usually if I call a reel in, it'll be several long periods. Like at one time, they just all come. I've never been used to that, but they're not that. They're kind of difficult. I mean, I've had some that'll sit there and do they'll gobble and they'll go back and forth and back and forth, and they won't have a head. And I'm just like, what? Because I hunt with a bow, so it's harder for me to.
Absolutely.
To usually I'm in a blind, but now I take netting, and I got a little chair so I can be mobile when I call and stuff. But yeah, reels they're fun to hunt though. I just love turkey hunt, period. It's
super fun.
Beat those mornings. Yeah, you can't beat those mornings. Now, what's your preferred mouth call, box call? You all kind of calls?
I only got what I would say decent with mouth calls last year, but it's just so much easier to run and gun. I've tried to bow hunt them, but it's just every time they're finally close enough and I draw back, they always see. I mean, I'm not in a blind because it's so hard to tell which direction they're going to come from. And so I never hunt out of a blind just because I can't see them or hear them walking that easily. So I just always try and hide up under a cedar tree or something, but I've never been successful with it. But I've used all the calls. I have used all kinds of calls and all sorts of calling, and I just kind of experiment every year just for fun, just to kind of see what. And then got more into watching videos of like how turkeys communicate and what they're communicating in that cluck or in that gobble, or and all the little versions of their language, what they're trying to communicate. So it's so interesting. Like, you can just like do the wrong call and they're suddenly spooked off. So
Have you
knowing that sort of thing is.
are you trying, because I know you said you hunted Osceolas, right? You've hunted Osceolas.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then are you going to try for a Grand Slam? Because Kansas
Rio
and Oklahoma, the Rio.
like
So
a little further west though.
okay. So you've gotten Eastern, Osceola, and Rio. Are you going to try for the Grand Slam?
I haven't gotten an Osceola.
Oh, you haven't? Okay.
No, I haven't. I would love to. I would love to do a Grand Slam. It's just about, and I wish I would have done it years ago, because now with the COVID restrictions, it's just getting harder to do stuff. And like, I was supposed to turkey hunt out of state last year, and all of the places got shut down. So luckily I didn't purchase my tags in advance, which I typically would. Otherwise I would have been screwed out of the money, I guess. Because they shut down Nebraska and Illinois. So I didn't even hunt out of state last year at all. But I would love to do that. I think it would be fun. Have you done it?
No, I don't know if you heard it was a podcast, my third podcast. I have a buddy back home in New York. Like, if you talk to him about turkeys, he turns into a turkey. Like, he loves.
That's funny.
He's gotten a Grand Slam. He's gotten all the birds, but yeah, this dude is super passionate about turkeys.
That's
so
awesome.
he used to go to Missouri a lot when we first started, but now he travels all over. And I haven't. No, I've never. I when I was growing up in New York, I used to bow hunt deer, and then I didn't like the whole being quiet and scent, and then so I started really getting the fall turkey hunting, and then spring. So, but now I've gotten into hunting elk, and that's kind of taken first place over turkeys. I haven't hunted deer in a while. And then when I move out west, I'm going to do the whole everything I can hunt deal. So, but yeah, maybe one day, because I'll have an Eastern or Rio, and then my buddy said Osceolas are really hard to hunt.
I've heard that too. I never really even thought about hunting turkeys until I moved to Missouri. I didn't really know about it. All I knew about was deer hunting.
You still have family in Florida that you can go back and stay with to hunt?
I could, yeah.
You should do it. You're almost there. Did your family Did you move out by yourself to Missouri, or did your whole family go
out? It was just by myself. I moved up here for college.
Okay. What'd you take at college?
I have family. Oh.
What's that? You broke up a little bit.
I have family members that live here.
Oh,
sorry, you're breaking up a little bit too. So
okay. Yeah.
I think good now though.
My studio is in the garage. So where'd you go to school? You're in fitness, right?
University
You're into fitness? You're into fitness, correct? Yeah. So how about that? What is do you train to hunt? As they call? Do you do certain exercise training to prepare for hunting?
I have tried. I didn't really see a lot of improvement. I was just trying to get my back stronger so I could draw my bow maybe easier, but it's really not the same motion, so it really didn't do much for me. I try to just be as healthy as I can and get exercise, because I feel like that does help me during season. I do exercise during deer season because I'm just going every single day. And then if the wind isn't right in my spot, I'll just go to public just for something to do. Just typically because my working season is over the summertime. So I work and then I just hunt all fall and then through the spring.
What kind of work do you do that allows you to do that?
I have worked in restaurants a lot, and I
I've never
also,
done that.
yeah, I
Yeah.
clean grandma as well. She has a business at the Lake of the Ozarks, so I help her.
Oh, Lake of the Ozarks. Like the TV show. Is it? So is there like mafias and stuff up there, like on Ozark, and a big heroin, like on that show? Like
I mean,
that.
yeah,
Um. So now I see you. One thing I noticed in your, you have a good bond, like a special bond with your uncle, don't you? Because you guys seem to do a lot together.
we do. He doesn't have any kids, so I think he's just kind of adopted me in nature, sort of. And he's just always, I think he just loves that I like hunting is like as much as he does, and he just thinks that's so cool because I'm a girl, and back in his day no girls were into it, and so he just thinks that's the coolest thing.
That's cool. Yeah, I kind of have I have a nephew who's kind of like a brother because we were so close in age. Because all my sisters are older, much older, you know. And one thing I enjoyed his did he didn't get an elk, did he? That hunt you filmed for the one thing I enjoyed is when he was blowing that first on part one where he's blowing on his elk tube.
He gets so
Just
mad. He gets
you're
so
like,
mad.
and you go, did you just practice that last night? And then he was blowing on that thing, and it was like, oh my goodness gracious, yeah.
So bad.
Was
I
that
know. He
wa-
practice.
that was during the muzzleloader season in Colorado?
Yes.
So that was like during archery season as well. Because you said there, I heard you guys saying there's like a lot of people. You guys are seeing like a lot of hunters.
It was supposed to be like an exclusive unit, which we didn't realize. I guess my uncles didn't realize that you could buy over the counter bow tags there as well. So, I mean, there was only, 20 to 30 people muzzleloader hunting. So we figured there's so much mountain range, we're not going to be competing with anyone. But since they do the over the counter tags there as well, there wasn't a single campsite that wasn't taken. And so we had to just share one with another person. We never saw them, but my uncles just can't really get into that dark green thick timber, which is where I believe the elk were holding up just because of the heat. It was actually very hot during the day. And I mean, I hiked him 2 miles in, and he was like, I should have recorded him, but I didn't. He was like, I'm going to die, Brittany. And I was like, you are not going to die. You are being dramatic.
Where see, unit 61, where's that? Where's that area?
It is, do you know where Montrose is?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so just south of that, directly south of that is where it is.
Okay. I have a buddy from college. I went to University of Colorado, and he lives out in Montrose now, and he hates non-resident hunters. Just not just a yeah.
I don't.
But that's one of the reasons I stopped. I used to hunt Colorado for elk all the time, and then
So easy to get over.
yeah, but not yeah. That's part of the reason I called in. I think it was the same year. Yeah. So I found this, because I use Onyx too, and I found this area I've been hunting, and so I went way up to this year. I'm going way up to this meadow, and it was literally like a 2.5 mile hike. It was all up. I get up there just before crack of dawn. I'm hearing a bull. He starts bugling on top, and then I hear a bugling below me. Normally they're already up top, and I'm like, okay, this isn't right. So, anyways, I'm bugling. I see something like there was an elk, but it was too. It wasn't bright enough. I'm looking at the binoculars, and all of a sudden, so I'm bugling, all of a sudden, and I'm like, why is there a cow? And then every time I bugle, I get a response, and I'm like, why is the cow? It was a muzzleloader with a professional guide. The guide was calling to me. Now I can't say I'm like an expert caller or anything, and I'm sitting there watching these two come walking through the meadow with their gun, and I had to start waving my hand like. Yeah. So so I moved, and then I called in another guy, and that was the last time I hunted. Called because I called.
You said, I called in 2 guys and I was done.
Yeah, it was like, and
So
I
you
used
must
to
be a
have,
caller.
but I know what you mean too about sharing because the place I would stay, there was probably 5 or 6 campsites in there, all full. And then I was fortunate to get hooked up in Utah with 1,000 acres of private land.
That's nice.
Yeah, and then I went this year. I hunted Utah, and it was like you said, it was so hot. Like this year it was so weird. The weather. I mean, one time I was there and we got this windstorm and snow and trees blown down, and then the next days it was like 80 degrees. It was so dry. And then I went to Idaho a week later, so I hunted Utah and then Idaho. And if it was human hunting season, I would have been I would have tagged out first day. Oh my god, I never saw so many people hunting. So I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna hunt Idaho again. At least not
Yeah.
on. I mean, maybe I'll apply for draws, but yeah, that's the thing with public land now. It's like, and plus COVID probably didn't help, because people had time to be out. They say like a lot of public land, national forest, like areas that get hiked, were just like I had a guy in here. He's got a thing called 2% for conservation. It's a
Oh,
podcast he did. Yeah, and he was talking about that this year a lot of public land was very littered and people just kind of were disrespectful because there's so many people around and stuff. Yeah, so I don't know, but um, you got another friend you hunt with. Are you two like kind of team? Caitlin, I believe her name is.
yeah.
So do you guys have like do a lot of hunting and film? Do you guys do? Are you like a team now, like doing hunts together and film and everything?
So we were a team for a long time, and I would say that our friendship will make us a team forever. And a lot of people who know her know me, or know me know her, and always ask both of us like how the other one is. But I think it's just we're just getting older. And she's like gone off in a relationship, and I'm happy for her, and she's really happy. So I think that kind of, you kind of just make your own life that way, So it was easy when we were in college, and we could always go together because we went to the same college, and then we lived together after college, and we always were able to do things together. And then we just didn't live together anymore. And so we still hunt together several times a season just because we want to hang out. And every time we do hang out, we're like, what should we do? Like, what do normal people do? And I'm like, okay, well, it's almost shed hunting season. So like, why don't we do that? Cause that's what we like to do. So we're like, well, what else do we like? And then we're like, we don't want to go shopping because we just don't feel like spending
Wow,
money.
that's weird. See, that's strange. You want to go shed hunting over shopping. I don't think I've ever heard a girl say that until now. They prefer shed hunting over shopping. Um, Sorry. Speaking of that, so she's in a relationship, so she's kind of busy with that. Is that for a factor when you meet a guy? I mean, obviously you want to have things in common. So, is that a big deal? Like, would you? Because I've dated girls that don't hunt, and it's not, especially the longer the relationship goes. And then, I mean, my ex-wife tried to get me from stop shooting my bow, and I'm just like, everything I did regarding hunting, she hated, and it's like,
Right.
so is that like a factor for you? I mean, I know you're not going to be like on Tinder, did you hunt, or are you using some dating app and making sure you're reading their profile? So is that a factor for you if you meet someone?
It absolutely is a factor. I have met someone, so that's cool.
He hunt?
Yeah, he does. I have tried to date someone who doesn't hunt, and it really drives a wedge between us because like I'm going to hunt and like I want to talk about it, and he doesn't want to talk about it, and he wants to talk about stuff I don't necessarily care about. And I think when you don't have a hobby, you're more into like the party scene and like stuff like that. And I think that having a good time every once in a while is fun, but not during hunting season, really. I think it's more fun to go hunting during hunting season. So it just makes it hard, especially since I'm a girl and girls are kind of have expectations on them. Like you need to do this and you need to keep up the home and you need to just the expectation sort of thing. And I haven't filled that for people that I've been in a relationship that don't hunt, because they're like, why are you always in the woods? Like, what are you doing out there? I'm looking for this one deer that I named. I want to see him, and that's the one I want to shoot.
Yeah, and it's
So
like, have you been out there? It's just so peaceful. Like I
it
talked
is.
about earlier, things you don't experience. Um, oh, I just had a brain freeze. So, oh, we were talking. Yeah, okay. You're talking about having a hobby, and that is so true. If you have someone and you got a hobby like hunting, and they're not into it, and then, like I said, they'd rather just be out partying or something. It's like you want to get up early and yeah, if you do, and that is so crucial. If you've got a hobby and they don't, and then like you said, they don't want to hear about it. It's like, you're excited. You came home and you saw something you want to tell them, and then they're just like, I don't care. Wow.
All right.
Yeah. So,
It's that kind of thing is very discouraging, because it's like, oh, and then because honestly, I didn't think that was a factor for a long time until I tried to date someone who wasn't into it. And then I was like, yeah, this isn't long term. This isn't going to work, because I want to shoot bow together. Like I want to be able to go with somebody who is like, yeah, I want to go elk hunting. Like we can camp in and pack out an elk together. Like I want to do those sorts of things. So those are like my dreams. My dreams aren't let me go to Las Vegas every 2 years on vacation or whatever. It's just not my dream. So, um, I think it's finding someone with common interests makes it a lot easier.
and I'm glad you mentioned the whole party in the Vegas thing, because like I said, I'm trying to get more women on here to give to share your stories, because you're all hunters. And I'll like, one of the reasons, I think I was looking up, I think I Googled like women who hunt on Instagram, something. And you were one that popped up like top 20 profiles to check out. I think you were one. Anyways, and the one thing I've noticed, that girls who actually do hunt, all their pictures, like I've seen someone, I'll check, and you have suggestions, or I'll see someone hashtag something, you'll be following a group, and anyways, and they'll say they're a hunter, and then I'll start looking at all their pictures, and okay, there's one picture of them hunting, and then there's bikini pictures and out at the bars, and so that's one of the reasons too, when I do a little research, and I saw that that's one thing you don't have all over your Instagram, is you're out in Vegas and all these things. So yeah, that is for me, like doing this podcast and getting more women on. That's one thing when I research, and then and I do some due diligence and check out and try and get some information about you and stuff. So that way I don't come in here, so you like to hunt, so tell me about that, and then it's it's a 5-minute podcast.
Right. Yeah, I think legitimacy is important on the women's side, just because we're already scrutinized in so many avenues so quickly, because we're wearing makeup or we want to look nice or whatever, and people are like, you shouldn't do that, you shouldn't do this, or you can't do this because you're a woman. Or I mean, one of my grandfathers told me years ago, oh, you can't hunt because you're a girl. And now he finds me the most interesting, I'm sure, out of he just always wants to tell me about his guns and stuff. And I'm like, years ago, I wasn't, in his eyes, I shouldn't have been hunting, you know what I mean? But now it's more accepted. But I think that keeping with the legitimacy is so important, because there are women out there making a disgrace of us all. And I know that Caitlin and I agree upon that a lot of the time, where we're just like, how are these people thriving in the hunting industry, or how are these people getting endorsements, or how, why are people not getting behind people who, I'm not going to say like us, because there's other girls like us. I don't know a ton of them, but the reality is you need, going for somebody who has respect for themselves as well is important, because you're leading other people into this avenue. You're influencing non-hunters. You're influencing women, girls, children. Who is that? What you want your little girl to see is a bikini pic where you look outrageous, where men are saying nasty things about you, and a little girl's looking up to that. I mean, men are gonna say what they're gonna say, but if you have some self-respect, people can look up to that, and I think that's worth more.
Do you have other brothers or sisters?
I do. They're all younger.
Did they hunt?
My brother, I gave my brother my old bow, so he shoots it sometimes, but my brothers are more into video games. I think it's because they're so young. I mean, they're kind of getting, I guess, 18 and 16. And then my sister, she went hunting for the first time with my dad this year. Didn't see anything. So I don't know if it caught her interest or not. And then my little sister, who's 7, she talks about it a lot. So I'm hoping.
That's cool. Yeah. I mean, times are changing definitely as far as what you can or what's expected of you. And it's unfortunate though that video games play they're distracting. Instead of being outdoors, you got to sit there and be on video games. Yeah. But that's
I
how things.
want better for my brother, because I just feel like gaming, spending all of his money on gaming and just doing it day in and day out, and it all night if my mom will let him, which she doesn't anymore. But it's like, dude, this isn't a hobby. This is, you're getting no exercise. You're not really learning anything. You're just, I mean, maybe he is, but not really, not anything of value. That I
virtualize. Hold on one second, okay? I'll be right back. Sorry, the door got open and I've got 3 dogs and they start barking. 2 are Rottweilers and then they get really loud. Sweet dogs. And you were talking about shed. Do you use a dog for shed hunting?
I don't. I would love to have a dog, but my lifestyle is very mobile right now. So it would be really hard to have a dog just and always take it around in places. And I don't want to get a full grown dog because I want to train the dog to hopefully blood trail and shed hunt. I don't know if it will be able to. I've been looking into what dogs can do that sort of thing or are smarter. But I really, especially going into the summer season, I don't have time to train one right now.
I'm working on getting a guy who trains shed hunting dogs to come on the podcast. We've been back and forth, and then he'll say he wants to come on, and I won't hear from him, and then he'll message, hey, when do you want to do this? And so that's the one thing I've learned. Have you ever thought about doing a podcast for hunting?
Like having my own podcast?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, I haven't. Because I feel like I'm not as good as asking questions as I am answering questions. I know it's kind of just getting the conversation going, but I haven't thought about it. Just, I don't really know how to go about it either, to be honest. So that's
it's funny though. I've always wanted to try it, and I finally just decided to, but I just contacted some guys that I listen to their podcasts. And one thing you're going to find out, anyone who does a podcast, they are so helpful. They want you to get a podcast going. It's really easy to do too. So if you ever want to and have questions, just ask. It's super. The hardest thing for me was getting Apple to approve, because everyone else, Google, Spotify, you just send in like it's called an RSS feed, and then you get approved. In Apple, they want to check your like the cover art. So like that behind me, I use that, and it has to be a specific requirement, size, and everything. and it took me I finally paid someone because I don't know Photoshop and stuff, and I just paid someone. But other than that, it's too easy. So for you, is it more on the creating video side that you like to get into more, filming hunts and that kind of venue?
I do. I like that a lot. Yeah. I mean, it takes a lot of time and a lot of effort. And I think some people don't realize how much like time it takes to the hours that I have to sit watching through video footage, seeing what is going to work and what's not going to work, trying to tell a story with all of that mumbo jumbo, and then even putting music to the background and setting the clips and hoping that I have enough interviews talking about what happened here and there so that the story makes sense. And 75 hours later, I have a 12-minute video, you know? So I'm like, oh, this is exhausting.
Not
And
only that, filming the hunt, like getting the hunt filmed.
Yeah.
Because I've tried that.
I've passed up on getting deer because of that, because it's like I can't get the camera on them, or I can't move, or I don't know. It's just sometimes I'm like, I just want to hunt without my camera. But then I'm like, I love to, right after I shoot a deer, I will watch the video. It's almost like reliving that moment over and over again. But then I know where I hit it. Typically, I know where it went. I mean, because those sorts of things in adrenaline, I forget them almost instantly. Because like I'll be like, oh, which direction did the deer run? I don't know. I forgot. You know, so I really like having that right after it happens. And then also it's like, then my uncle, if he wasn't there with me, then I can show him. And he's like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. Or you hit it perfect, or whatever he likes to say.
That's the reason why I've tried. Like I've always do it because I hunt by myself, especially out west. And I think they're called like, you ever see they're these little, it's like a 3-prong and you can wrap your iPhone on it, and then like you can wrap it around like a tree branch. Or
Yes.
I tried that unsuccessfully. I've tried, and then trying to carry my bow and all my stuff with a tripod. And then I tried a GoPro, and I actually called in 2 elk, and they're about that big. they weren't they weren't that far, but they're like when you see it, because it's that fisheye. Yeah, so you can just see the elk up top, and I'm like, oh, but so I just gave up on trying to film hunts.
Honestly, I've struggled with finding a backpack that suits all of my needs. That's camera arm, tripod. I've started saddle hunting, so that's steps, saddle, the platform to stand on. It's just the gear that I carry is an extra 40 pounds in and out. And it's like, if I'm hiking, sometimes when I go on public land, I'll just hike until I see a spot that I'm like, there's been deer here, so I'm going to hunt here because the wind permits it. So I could be walking for a couple miles, and that sometimes I'm like, oh, this gear, I hate it. Like, and I literally have the lightest stuff, like the lightest camera arm, the lightest fluid head. I carry my camera. Then I have a second angle camera now because I'm like, well, what's going to film me? Like, I don't know. This is so much sometimes.
What kind of pack do you use?
Right now I've used so many different ones. I really like my Badlands packs, but they just, once I get in the tree, it's hard for me to access stuff into it because it's they're typically made for Western hunting. So I have the Sitka toolbox, which I know Sitka's expensive, but I like, you can flip this, like the flap over, and it's like a big open box kind of. And so all the stuff, you can see it when you open the pouch, and it's easy to just grab whatever you need out. And it's just really heavy pack though. So I don't like that. It's also, the zippers are quiet and all that jazz, because I do try to be really quiet in the woods. So whenever I'm doing stuff, I like that a lot, but I'm looking into something else because it's just too heavy. Once I put my steps on, I'm like, I feel like I'm picking up a whole deer and putting it on my back.
Yeah, I use a Badlands for my day pack. Yeah, it's awesome. Then I've got a mystery ranch for if I. It's funny. I get all this shit and then I end up having a base camp that I'll and I rarely pack. Uh,
And
yeah, and go out and I've got a hammock, which is
oh,
very cool, especially for taking naps. You just put it in between trees and just
that's,
crash. Oh, those are nice. So what do you got planned? Are you just gonna hunt turkeys in Missouri this year?
um, I think so. I might hunt them in Kansas because that's just so convenient as well. But I kind of just didn't know how things were gonna go this year so far. Um, with like the COVID stuff and vaccines and just kind of the chaos that's been occurring. I just didn't want to plan on going a bunch of places and, you know, just dealing with, I don't know, because like where I live at the Lake of the Ozarks, we don't have to wear masks and stuff. And I kind of feel guilty whenever I go other places because I forget that. And people are like, can you put your mask on, ma'am? And I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm not trying to disrespect anyone or whatever, but I
Sometimes you
just,
forget. Um, do you hunt public land in Kansas? Is that or you got private land to hunt on?
um, I would probably hunt public.
Public, okay.
I don't
Uh,
have any.
when does Missouri start? When does their season start?
I think April 15th.
Okay, yeah.
So
If
kind
you're in
of
Texas,
later. I mean, later than you guys.
yeah, we start mid like the second weekend in March usually, and then it goes till the May 1st. That's what I
That's,
like. It's a long. The only thing that sucks is by the end of March, early April, I'm hunting in shorts and sometimes even a tank top because it gets so freaking hot here, and it's like
yeah.
it's sometimes it's not fun. To, it's so I do a lot of early morning hunts just because once the day heats up and but I'd rather be outside anyways. So you got to suck it up and deal with it. What about Western hunts? You going to do any Western hunting this year?
Um, my uncle says that we have enough to draw antelope.
Oh,
So
cool.
I might do that.
What state?
Wyoming.
Oh, okay, nice. I've thought about that's one of the places I'd want to move, and then their motto is we have more antelope than humans, and I don't know if I could live in a state that you know. I mean, it's good and bad, and yeah, I need to have some human interaction.
There's a lot of antelopes.
Yeah. And another thing I noticed, like when I was asking about that, is the whole COVID issue, because a lot of people this year kind of, yeah, the total archery challenge. I had
hmm
him on, and the podcast was really long, and because he seemed frustrated because he's got events planned, but he still is kind of doesn't really know because every state has their own guidelines and restrictions and everything. And it's so weird because it's outside. I understand it's important to wear a mask and stuff, but you're outside, and so far they've proven that it's not a factor when you're outside in open spaces to really, especially in the mountains. So, although
Right.
it's really weird is the guy Jared from 2% for Conservation. We were talking, and he told me about a study they did. I think it was in Montana. Anyways, over 10,000 feet lake, way up in the mountains. And they found those plastic, the little bead balls, that are a big problem in water nowadays.
Yes.
They found them in the lake trout up in the mountains. And it's
Oh,
so
wow.
weird. It just made me think of that with COVID, but even still. But he seemed really frustrated, same way like when you're like, I don't know, with COVID. Yeah, he seemed really frustrated to have this big event planned, but then at the same time he doesn't like his Vermont venue got canceled, and he's trying to find another spot to fill the East Coast, and it must suck, especially for guys like that have a business that can't, you know. I don't know.
For sure.
Do
A
you do
lot of business.
those?
What?
Do you do
Go ahead.
those? Have you done those total archery or the mountain archery fest? Anything?
I haven't tried any of that.
That's one thing I want to try. I'm getting the mountain archery fest guy on too. He's another one where he'll text me and he gave me his phone number and he'll text me, oh, let's do this. And then I won't hear from him again. It's like, yeah. So
For sure. It's kind of a I feel like it's a busy time because it's just so unknown. So you're preparing, but you're preparing for it to not work out. And then so you're, over preparing, and I don't know, it's just exhausting really, to be honest.
yeah, it
Like
sucks.
I know
Eventually,
everyone's tired of it, but I I don't think things will ever go back to normal because everybody wants it to go back to normal, but it's just not going back to normal.
well, the problem is we get like they're talking about the Super Bowl being another super spreader because people can have Super Bowl parties, and so they expect another surge. And it's like, yeah, we just, I don't know. The we as humans are sometimes too much, especially Americans are too much babies. And what's funny is you can't go into a store without shoes or shirt on. No one has problems with that. But you tell someone to wear a mask and it's like, oh, what? You're killing me. I can't breathe. Oh God. So anyways, I'm gonna get off political topics right now. So yeah, end of story. So when do you start scouting for whitetails? Do you scout all year? Do you leave your trail cameras out all year, stuff like that, or no?
Uh, I the only time I take trail cams down is, I mean, they kind of struggle during our really cold season, which is like mid-January to like end of February. We'll get these like harsh cold days, and my trail cameras will like freak out and not work during those times, or it kills the batteries instantly. So I'd have to change them out every other day, so I don't really run them during that time. And then I kind of wait through turkey season, then I put them back up during the summer. So especially so I can get the velvet growth, and just because I think that's neat to look at. And then I can kind of picture who might be a returning deer and things like that. But I don't really rely on trail cams that much because, one, you can't use them on public in Missouri, and two, I just run them at my uncle's so I can, like I said, see if a deer came back and grew bigger. But my uncle's property design layout is for him specifically, and that's rifle hunting. So the deer's patterns there are never consistent. So I can't know for sure what side of the field the deer are going to come out that night, even if they come from the same bedding area, which I've discovered isn't on our property. So I can't maneuver and hunt over them. So just kind of, it's a really an afternoon spot only. And because they're already in there, before I would get in there, unless I just go at 2:00 in the morning, which is, I'm not going to sit in a blind for 6 hours waiting for the sunlight to come up. Not successfully. Anyway.
Have you had issues with anyone taking your cameras?
No, to be honest. No.
Well, it's also on private land. So how about sponsors? How is this working out as far as, are you getting people to contact you about getting any sponsorships out of this hunting deal?
So a lot of people want to, initially, I haven't pushed my stuff super hard this season or last season just because it just seemed, I'm not going to say it was a waste, because it wasn't, because I learned a lot, and I've had a lot of fun. But a lot of people who want to do sponsorships with people, even Caitlin still struggles with people saying, nah, we want you to just use our stuff for free. We'll send it to you all day long. We'll send you free stuff. We'll send you whatever you want. But we ain't going to pay you nothing. And so I'm like, okay, well, I understand that there's a budget to maintain, or maybe you want someone to use your stuff for a year and make sure they like it before you sign them for a contract. But I don't know if men struggle with the same thing, but so many women are willing to do it for free that us women who are trying to make a living from it only can get the free option. And I'm like, I'm just going to use whatever I want whenever I want if you're not going to pay me, because I can't literally make a living if I'm not receiving some sort of funds. And so I think it's great, the people who do get paid, but it's like, if you're let's just make an instance. If you're budgeting $1 million on someone like Lee and Tiffany, who are on television, that people aren't even interested in watching anymore that much, because people want to see real life scenarios where hunters fail, because hunters do fail. And it's boring whenever you kill a big, huge Boone and Crockett every single year. Like, sorry, I want to watch someone who's relatable, that, you know, and I'm not dissing on them, but it's like, why are companies still signing $1 million every year to these people who aren't as interesting to the public eye anymore, especially someone who's just starting hunting? And they go out and hunt and expect to see, you know, a Pope and Young and shoot it, because that's what Lee and Tiffany do every single hunt or every single year. Or so it's not just them. There's other hunters too that I'm like, why is your whole budget going to them when you could pay Joe Schmo and, you know, someone else $5,000 here, $5,000 there, or 10 grand here, 10 grand there, so that they can do this successfully throughout the fall and have a living. Obviously you have to live super inexpensive. But even with the triple amount of following that Caitlin has, it amazes me, because people still lowball her or say, nah, we want you to do it for free. And I'm like, free? What's all the hard work for? If you aren't getting anything out of it except for a free product, I will go buy my stuff at that point. You know what I mean? I don't need your free. I hate to say that, but it's just so many girls are willing to say, yeah, I'll do it for free. And so they just move on to the next girl who's willing to do that. And so all the rest of us who are trying to be legitimate, put in all the hard work, make our own stuff, create content, that is an entire job right there. So I can't work another job and create content at the same time. It doesn't work. That's why I work over the summer. So I don't know. It's challenging for sure. I know a lot of girls don't make a penny, and you would think like, oh, they're definitely sponsored by someone. They're making money from this, but they're not. They're not sponsored by anyone. They're not making any money. They bought most of the stuff they have, or a company said, hey, we'll send you a few free this or a few free that if you just post on your story or post on your Instagram. And I'm like, we've just gotten to this place where I wish companies would step back and see where the hunting industry is going and say, wow, we have some other legitimate options over here. Why don't we try that? Because people want to.
I think they're putting too much emphasis now on social media following. Like I said, I'll see some girls who put a hunter and stuff, and then they got bikini pictures and party pictures, like, but then they'll, and another thing too is I do you know who Shed Crazy is? Ben Dedamonte.
I've seen some of
it. I did a podcast with him last week, and one thing I liked about him is he bet it all. Like, he was working a job, and then he took care of all his finances, and because he loved being outdoors, he loved hunting, and he didn't know what the outcome was going to be, but he just said, you know what? We took care of all our debts, and I'm going to budget this much money I need to make. And he made all his money hunting sheds initially, and then he would post funny little videos. But I asked him about the sponsors. Like I said, are there sponsors? Because you talk about free stuff. I asked him, are there sponsors you won't go with because they put restrictions? And that's the thing too, is they'll want you to use their product, but then they'll put little caveats on there that you have to do this, or you have to, and that's one thing I wouldn't. Yeah. But I understand what you're saying too about, it's the same. There's a few hunters I see, and it's just like, the one dude I really respect is Corey Jacobson, because he practices what he preaches. He's a public land hunter. He gets all his elk on public land. He doesn't. He has gone guided hunts, but that's because for a specific reason, for charity. Like he's helped. He does a thing with kids and stuff. Other than that, he's strictly public land, scouts it, Onyx, all that stuff, and he's made a living off of it because. But he, he's genuine. He's very authentic with what he presents. Where there's some guys who, I won't name names, but they have a very large following and all they do is run, and yet they hunt on, private land with guided hunts, which I understand. I would too, because I explained earlier, public land hunting can be a bitch. Or you could be like Joe Rogan, get the accelerated lesson from Cam Haines and John Dudley, and go out and kill a large bull elk every year. But then you look, and the thing that kills me about him is he promotes public land, he wears public land t-shirts and stuff, but he hunts on private land with a guide. And it's like, come on, dude.
Yeah. It's just so hard to connect and relate to that for the everyday hunter who has a full-time job and can only hunt on the weekends and goes out like 5 to 10 times a year. It's stupid that companies are still just fully behind these big names and paying them outlandish amounts of money I'm like, nobody looks up to these people. I don't even look up to these people. I've met many of them, and they're not nice, think highly of themselves, act like celebrities. I'm like, you are somebody in the hunting industry, but walk outside of that and you are a nobody. I'm like, what in the world? I'm like, this is crazy. It's like they think they're somebody great. So that's definitely like a huge turn off. And I think that companies could get behind people like, I'm not going to say like me, but there's other girls who are into it and genuine and nice, but they really know what they're talking about. And like I said, I don't know many, but I mean, I know Caitlin, and she can walk out, find where the deer are, and hunt them there. And just a few other girls. And there are girls who are getting into it and doing it right and all that stuff. But I'm like, where do companies draw the line? I don't know. So a lot of stuff. And the only money that has been able to be made is from sources like YouTube and that sort of thing, based on views and things like that, and how Google pays out. So that's not really companies. I think sponsorships are a funny thing. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the marketing managers think when they're like, hey, who are we going to budget out this year?
Don't get frustrated. I mean, if you love something, you'll get it. Like I said, Ben, he bet it all. He quit his job and
right.
Said, this is what I'm going to do. And he got it done. And there's another, do you follow Sarah Gamache? She goes by Pacific Northwest Huntress, but it's PNW_Huntress.
I think I've seen her come across. I think I've seen her come across like my Discover page or something. I stopped looking at other people's profiles as much just because it's this like psychological thing. I think that I'm like, oh, they're doing better than me. They're doing more than me. People are interested in them. I'm like, what's wrong with me? Why aren't things working out for me or stuff like that? And I think everybody suffers with that from social media. So I just kind of took a step back because I'm like, I need to be happy in my own life, and I'm not hunting for the public's eye to begin with. So this year I kind of took that seriously and was like, I'm not hunting for the public eye. And a lot of the videos that I put out weren't even really for me. So, they were mostly for my uncle, because one day he can see those, or my other family members can see those too, and just appreciate them. And
Sarah's very genuine. You kind of remind me of her, because the only difference is she's married and has kids, and her husband's a special forces, so he's always gone, but she finds time to hunt just like yourself. and she's working a job. She's got a business, and but she says she makes, like, for her, she's the same way. I want to hunt. That's what she loves to do, and you remind me of her. So just stick with it. I mean, I understand what you're saying, and it's unfortunate that they look at the followers and just, I don't know, and that's the way things roll. But if you like it, just like Ben, just stick with your passion, and you'll get it. Just don't be impatient. Like I said, focus on you. You know, be the good thing and be the one everyone wants to look up to, and you'll do it. You'll get it done.
Thanks. I'll
So,
try.
yeah, you got this. So where can people find, give out all your social media so people can come find you?
So I'm pretty sure my YouTube name is just my name, Brittany Barnhart, and then my Instagram handle is just my name, Britt. Well, I don't go by Britt. It's just that was the only handle available. My full name wasn't available, so I just did Britt Barnhart. I think that connects to any other social media that I have. Facebook, Brittany Barnhart. I didn't spice it up and create a name or anything, just in case I ever put like other stuff, because I've thought about talking about how fitness helps me move quieter in the woods and things like that, but I've just never really gotten to how I would explain that, or making a video or telling a story, essentially.
Don't forget about your website, your bbarnhart@wixsite.com.
Oh, yeah, I do have a website. I haven't been on it like over a year, but I did create a website. It's cool that you found it.
Yeah.
Because I made that myself, actually, because it like lets you create your own.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So so she's got a website too, people. bbarnhart@wixsite.com. All right. Well, Brittany, hey, it was really nice talking to you. And like I said, just stick with it. You got this. You know, don't get frustrated. It's going to be a lot of hard work, but it'll pay off. Just like I said, Ben bet it all, and it worked out for him. So just don't get frustrated. Just do what you love to do.
For sure.
All right.
Well, thanks so much for having me, David. I
thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you for coming on. This was awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, you have a good day. Okay.
You too.
All right. Bye, Brittany.
Bye-bye.